A man who needs no introduction, except for the fact that he has now authored this book, Above the Noise. It's DeMar DeRozan. First of all, congratulations on the book.
Thank you.
I read it yesterday. It's really good, man. Like, it reminded me a lot of, did you ever read Jerry West's book?
No, I heard it was good. Yeah.
West by West reminded me a lot of this.
Yeah.
Because, you write very powerfully about your youth. It's very inspiring to listen to you about your craft. I think that it's very relatable when you're talking about your young adulthood. I think it's very brave how you've written about your mental health. And again, these were a lot of themes that were in his book as well. And I just want to say congratulations, because this is genuinely one of the best books that I've ever read by an athlete. West by West is my favorite book. And while I was reading it, genuinely couldn't put it down. Like, really, really great book, man. And I can't tell you that, like, you should be incredibly proud of this work. This is incredible. The question is, though, why now? Because most guys wait till the end of their careers to write a book. You're still very much in. You just signed a contract. Like, the Sacremento Kings probably saw you write this, and they're like, "Hey, you're still playing, right?
Right.
You're still showing up to camp."
Yeah, I think, like you said, a lot of people wait until it's like their career is over, then do a book. And I think for me, like, just showing that life is such a journey, and kind of like showing vulnerability, showing my flaws, showing growth, showing that I'm still going through things, and trying to unpack a lot of things and still learn in the midst of still playing. That's what it's like for all of us. A lot of guys just wait till you're done to express what it is, and you still got life to live. And I kind of want to do and show both sides of it. Still want to show how much life I lived and the obstacles that I had to go through and still go through, in the midst of still playing at a high level. It was very important to try to explain, because you don't never get to see it from that perspective. And it was something I wanted to show.
Honestly, man, like, that's one of my favorite things in the book, is that when you're detailing kind of your experiences with therapy and your journey with mental health, that, again, I find it to be very relatable, which is one of the really cool things about this book. Is, like, you mentioned it a few times that a lot of people would look at you and be like, that's DeMar DeRozan. Like, that's someone that it's hard to relate to you, in the sense of you can fly over other human beings and dunk on them the way that you did on Chris Boucher, right? That's not relatable. You mentioned, like, the bank account not being relatable, like many things about your life some people would dream upon, but when you write about stuff like, your journey with therapy, that sometimes you relapse on it, that you'll do it, you'll feel progress, you'll stop. That's something a lot of us go through. When you challenge yourself to think about being vulnerable in front of a psychiatrist, that's just like most people's experiences. And so the fact that you are still going through this and that you are still playing, I actually think that it makes the book even more powerful than it would be, like you said, at the end of your career, that this is something that, you're not fixed. You don't view yourself as a finished product just because there's a book here. This doesn't end your life. This is just who you are at this moment of it, in that journey. Is that fair to describe it that way?
That's 100% what it is, and I think that was the most important thing, because even still doing the book, it's so much other stuff I realized that I'm going through, that I have to go through, and that I have to kind of like deal with and break down and kind of fix, whether if it's some me personally or relationships outside of me. It's much more deeper than what people may look at it like, it's a book being done and that's the story. Yeah. It's still so much more even within that's still, evolving and still, a work in progress. And just showing that, who knows, it'd be another part. It's kind of like a part 2 to a movie, to where certain things happen in part 2 of a movie that makes sense from the first movie, that kind of correlate with certain actions. And that's basically what I'm just trying to get at and try to show, is just breaking down those areas of things that mentally, emotionally, that I'm going through, that I'm trying to figure out too. So the book is like a therapeutic lesson that I'm still going through.
Yeah. And you know what, though? I thought about that too, reading it, is you've had a lot of challenges in your life, and you are someone that is still going through therapy, and you are someone that's still going through a lot of, challenges in your life. And when you were doing this, and again, I know that you've confronted a lot of things and it's cataloged throughout the book, but did you find it more challenging at times than therapeutic? Like, was it difficult for you to go over some of these things, especially with strangers, and knowing that this stuff was going to be like out there and you having to like really put yourself back in those places mentally?
100%. It's difficult. It's not a simple thing. It's hard. It's challenging. It opens up other doors you didn't think it'd open, as far as like emotions, wounds. It just kind of brings so much stuff to the light, deeper within than what people may just read from the story. That kind of got to be addressed and handled, and this allowed me to kind of break those moments down and work on that going forward too, because it's not easy. I'll be the first to tell you it's one of the toughest things that I've done in my life, to be able to one, go back to a lot of memories that I had trauma from, and a lot of current memories that I'm still kind of working through.
Yeah, man, that's what, because again, so to relate to your book a little bit, I lost my father a few years ago. I've also had some trauma in my childhood. I wouldn't relate it to what you had, but I found that when I've done therapy at times, that even though you get, like you write in the book, the aha moments, there are times where it just is too much.
Yeah.
Like you have to just step back from it, because you're like, you know what? I thought I was ready to talk about this. I started to uncover this, but I'm just not ready to delve into some of whatever this pain is, and I need a break from it. But you're here with a book, like I'm assuming that they gave you some type of a timeline where you have to have this thing out. You've got like time commitments. Was there anything that was the hardest thing to do, was to be like, man, I got to push through this today. Like, I can't just treat this like a therapy session. I got to treat this like a book that I've promised to deliver on.
I feel like that now.
Yeah.
I feel like that now, to be honest with you, because, it's a tough thing when you feel any type of discomfort emotionally, or some feel like it's too much. A lot of times you have the opportunity to kind of take a second, take a step back, kind of, indulge in something else to help free your mind or recharge yourself, give you the strength and grace you need to jump back into, what's important. When you're consistently doing something that's as heavy as this, and not even have the opportunity yet to kind of like work on the things that you talk about in the book, or things that you may be going through in a book, it makes it extremely hard. It makes it extremely tough, because, you just want to kind of block out the noise, in a sense, during the process. But, I know once I get that moment, I'm definitely going to do that.
You going to do that in Wyoming? You going to do that in Montana?
No, I'm going to do it, I don't know which way I'm going to do it yet, but I know it'll be done.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, so the nature therapy stuff, that's still working for you?
Yeah, I mean, that's always the best part of it. That's kind of like the extreme part of it, when it's just, you just want to just get away from everything and everybody, working out, responsibilities, obligations, everything. That's the go-to. That's kind of like the extreme level of it.
Can I give you the next spot?
Where?
I'm from the north. Like, I'm from a place called Whitehorse, Yukon. It's right by Alaska. Have you ever been to Alaska?
That's been my next stop. I've been wanting to go to Alaska like the last 2 or 3 years. I just haven't got a chance.
Dude, I'm telling you, like when you were describing the scenes and the tranquility, summer. Yeah. I mean, you're playing in the winter, but still, do it in the summer because it's brutal in the winter. But yeah, I think that you would really enjoy that.
Alaska been on my list for the last 3 years.
I think that if this brings you calm, this brings you peace. There's a lot of places around there that still feel like very untapped part of the world. And it's just a very cool and very interesting place. But again, summertime. I love it. But you won't see the moon because the sun's up all night in the summer.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So you're not going to get a lot of time with the moon. But so you're at USC, and that's when you start to unlock the what's next mentality. Am I right? Mm-hmm. That's when it starts to become like what's next with your career, or what's next with your game. When did this kind of become what's next? Like, are we here actually if it's not for the tweet? Like, if you don't do that tweet, do you end up in the same place?
1,000% no.
No. So it's like, that's just like this one little hinge point moment in your life, because but from reading it, it seemed like it was kind of not an innocuous moment, that you were feeling powerful feelings, but that you kind of fired it off being like, yeah, whatever, this is just kind of like me giving a tiny little bit of a release.
Yeah, I mean, I know for a fact without that tweet, no,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be sitting here, I wouldn't be doing this. Who knows what turn it would have took, but I could honestly say I wouldn't be here without that. And it just shows you how funny life is, you know, how one, you know, I wouldn't never say a mistake, how one action can, you know, lead you down a whole nother path that's so unexpected. And, you know, I'm a bad planner in life, because I don't like preconceiving anything. Like I don't like planning, because some of my greatest moments in my life came unplanned. So it makes me question when things are planned. Some people are great planners, and they need to be, you know, they need to plan out they week, they day.
I'm really
yeah, for sure. But me, I hate planning. It gives me the utmost anxiety, because I feel like through that planning, you could block something that could happen so unexpected and genuinely that'll be more, that'll come with more than me planning out something. So that's just how like my mind always works. So I always try to take everything moment by moment, day by day.
That's interesting, because most people that have it that way, like for me, I don't really like to plan, because I got like the commitment issues with anything. Like I never want to commit to something, because I'm like, man, if I decide to do that, then then I've locked in, and if something else comes along, then I'm not gonna be able to do it. So I'd rather just leave it free, and then I can't disappoint anybody.
Right.
You know, like nobody can be disappointed, because I never made any promises, and I just agreed that I was gonna be like, we'll see.
Yeah.
And then you end up kind of having the thing. But I just thought that was crazy, that so much of this book is just like you late at night, you know, sitting there scrolling, sitting there on Twitter, and then firing off that tweet, and then it just has this absolutely massive effect where people are walking up to you in bookstores and grocery stores telling you about how much you've helped them. And I am kind of curious too about this. Like, I think that with some people that open up and are vulnerable this way and offer such a big part of themselves, that there is a large contingency of people that come to you and start to relate to you and be like, hey, DeMar, like, I want to reach out to you because I'm feeling these same things. But then it can become kind of overwhelming, because now you're trying to take on, or potentially taking on, the burdens of other people. And I'm curious, you know, how you think you're going to try to balance this moving forward, because you really have become a beacon for mental health.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the beauty of the journey, just accepting the journey and knowing what the journey is going to be, obstacles that you can learn from, you could grow from, that you kind of, you know, build up a different type of emotional and mental strength that you didn't have before, because now you know it's going to be a journey. You know, is you willing to take this marathon with everything that come with it to you know, to get to the you know, the end of it, and realizing it's still a journey. You know, I think me more so accepting that part of it will make everything else easy, because, you know, once you do something like this, it, like I said, it opens up so many other emotional doors that you're gonna have to deal with, because you open them up.
Yeah.
You know, when before you close them in because you don't want to deal with them. And I think this is just giving me an opportunity to express, make right, deal with a lot of things I kind of had closed off for a long time.
Do you find that you're finding peace in more places than basketball? Like, obviously family would be one, but like through a process like this, and you know, you mentioned at the end of the book that basketball is still your sanctuary. Like, that is still the place that you find peace. And I'm curious, like, going through a process like this and reflecting on all the things that are going on in your life, if there are other avenues that you're looking towards and going, you know what, this might be something.
Yeah, I don't necessarily look at it like, this goes back to like the planet. Like,
oh yeah, I guess,
you know what I mean?
You just said that. So
it's more so like, I read this quote one time. It said, "Nothing's making sense. That's how I know I'm gonna be okay." And that hits hard with me. And it's like, a lot of stuff don't make sense right now for me, but that's when the greatest things for me always happen, when a lot of stuff didn't make sense. You know, that's why I talk about the story when I was traded from here. It was like, it didn't make sense to me in that moment, but it gave me a different type of approach, preparation, professionalism, it gave me a different type of appreciation for the game and for my career after that happened. I don't know if I would have had that if that moment didn't happen.
It seems like not.
Yeah.
Like from reading the book, it seems like it was very much a happen for a reason situation.
Exactly.
I will say this, reading it from your perspective, because, you've been public about, how much the trade from the Raptors hurt you. Like, pretty much from the outset. Like, it was pretty public, and everybody knew, like, what the city meant to you and what you meant to the city. But reading through it, I was like, you know what? I think the Raptors are cursed now. I think that they traded their soul for the championship. They got it, and now, like, reading this, I was like, this feels like very cursy moving forward from your perspective. I'm curious though too, do you have peace with it now? Like,
for sure, yeah.
Like,
yeah,
is
yeah.
it, like, you're like, this is
yeah,
good now.
yeah.
It doesn't feel the same way. It doesn't sting.
It don't bother me. It
whatever.
don't sting. It don't nothing. Like I said, because so much more came out of that situation that sometimes when something don't make sense, you'll do something that make it make sense. And I'm just a firm believer in that. So it don't bother me. It don't, it happens. It just happens that way. And I move past it. It don't bother me. A lot of people think when I talk about it, it's like I'm bitter about it. I'm hurtful. It's like, nah, it ain't that. One, people always ask me about it. One, I'm gonna say I don't want to talk about it. Like, it's a part of what happened. But for me, it don't bother me.
Again, though, I think it makes you far more relatable as a person, that you just say things the way that you did feel them, rather than put out the facade that it's
and that's the thing, even with the book, it's like people get so caught up in what people may think or what they may feel because you expressing your feelings.
Yeah.
Only you know your true feelings towards something, and that's what it should be. Don't let somebody else's thought towards your feelings make you keep your feelings in. That's just what it was. It's just what it was. And from that, just the strength that I have now from that moment, because when it first happened, I didn't think I'd feel the way I feel to this day. But that shows the growth and how much I gained from that happening that I didn't even know that was there. So much come from it.
Last question. I know you said you don't plan. I know you said you don't want to have the thoughts of the plans. But would you be open to retiring as a Raptor?
Oh yeah, you always want a poetic ending of that way, and like, granted, most people don't get to write their own ending, but what a better ending than being able to end where you start, but not just end by just putting on the jersey. I still want it have to be in the sense of me still being myself.
Oh, you got to play.
Oh yeah.
You wouldn't do the ceremonial.
No. I wouldn't just do the. I wouldn't want to come back and be Elijah Wan. Nothing like that. Like, it have to just make sense. I definitely. You kind of want to go out like you came in a sense, and that's what people kind of remember you as.
I really hope it happens, man. I do, and I think the city would love it too. Again, the book is Above the Noise. DeMar DeRozan. It was a pleasure meeting you. It was a pleasure getting a chat with you. Thanks so much for doing this.
Thank you. Appreciate it, brother.
Yeah.